My name is Arifa from AGS, only destination for learning. See, I have done few videos on this chapter, the rise of nationalism in Europe, priorly. All those videos before this topic, the revolution of liberals, are available in my YouTube channel. This is the 6th video on the chapter called the rise of nationalism in Europe. If you find my videos useful, please like them, share them, and subscribe my channel. Please don't forget to press the bell icon for the recent notifications. So in the previous videos, we have seen about the hunger, hardship of the people who were residing in Europe, especially how the period of 1830s was the most hardship for all those European people, because this period of 1830s meant the very bad harvest because of a winter, and food prices increased enormously, which made these people of Europe to starve because of hunger, and to get into such a situation of subsistence crisis where even the basic amenities of people are threatened. See, in France during the period of 1848 especially, there was a situation where even those people who were living luxurious life, who were leading a royal life, their basic amenities were also threatened on a large scale because of a period of these 1830s which prevailed in the entire European continent. In France especially, this period of 1848 witnessed the situation of subsistence crisis everywhere, leading to the abdication of monarch who was existing in France. See, Louis XVI, he was abdicated in the year of 1848 because of these situations of hunger and hardship in entire France. Seeing at the situations in France and all, looking at the abdication of monarch who was prevailing in France, the other nations which were not independent so far. See, I have told you that there was a demand of nationalism everywhere in Europe, and they wanted to form their own nation states. Both Germany, Italy, and most of the nations, they wanted to have a unique identity with their own nation. So this they wanted to achieve, and those people who wanted the unification of these independent territories into a nations, that demand it has increased after the period of 1848. See, Germany, Italy, Poland, and even the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was there in Europe, which was not a part of any independent nation, all these they tried to have a nation state. They tried to achieve the idea of nation state after the period of 1848. All these independent nations, as we see today, they were not unified nations during the period of 19th century. But after 1848, all these Germany, Italy, Poland, Britain, most of the European nations, they wanted to have an independent nation with an independent identity. This was their major demand, and in order to achieve this demand of independent nations, most of the middle class people like businessmen, craftsmen, artisans, and different people who belong to the different professions, they have decided to vote for all German National Assembly. See, different categories of people, they unified, and they wanted to elect a parliament so that they can form a one singular nation. So in Germany, what happened? Large number of men, they came together in Frankfurt. See, this Frankfurt, it is one of a major city in Germany. So in the city of Frankfurt, most number of the men from different categories of professions, they gathered in Frankfurt and decided to vote for an all German National Assembly. So they decided to vote for this German National Assembly after the consequences of 1848. And they all these different people, they voted to few representatives, and on 18th May 1848, 831 members were elected as a representatives to this German National Assembly. So in total, 831 members were elected as representatives, and on 18th May, all these 831 elected representatives, They marched in a huge procession in Frankfurt, and they wanted to gather in a church of St. Paul, where they wanted to take their seats in a German National Assembly. All those people, whoever were elected, they wanted to take their seats in National Assembly, and that gathering, it was arranged in a church of St. Paul on the same day of May 18th, 1848. So all these 831 members who were elected to this German National Assembly, what they did in the Church of St. Paul is, all these 831 elected representatives, they drafted a constitution for entire German nation. They wanted the constitution to be respected by all, and that constitution to be headed by the constitutional monarchy. That is nothing but what? See, a constitutional monarch is nothing but a person being a monarch, he has to accept the rules and regulations of constitution. He is a monarch who is subjected to the rules of the constitution. He cannot make a decisions as of his will and wish. He has to make a decisions which are subjected to the constitutions, which are abided by the rules and regulations of the constitution. So such constitution, these 831 elected members, they drafted in the church of St. Paul, and that constitution they wanted to be headed by the monarch. So whom they wanted to be the monarch of the Germanies, all those people whoever were convened in the church of St. Paul, they elected Friedrich Wilhelm, who was a king of Prussia. See, this person, Friedrich Wilhelm IV, who was the king of Prussia, was offered a crown by all these 831 elected representatives. But this fellow, Friedrich Wilhelm IV, he rejected the crown which was offered by these 831 elected members, and instead of accepting to be the constitutional monarch, he joined with all those people who were opposed to this elected assembly, who were in support of monarchy. In that group, he goes and he joins the hands with all those people who were against this formation of elected representatives, who were against this formation of a National Assembly of Germany. So Friedrich Wilhelm, whom they offered the crown, this fellow, he didn't accept the crown which was offered by these elected representatives, since he was against the formation of National Assembly, and hence he goes to the people who were in opposition to the formation of National Assembly. Next, what happened? This National Assembly, whichever it was formed by these 831 elected members, this consisted of only the middle class members. See, I told you that different businessmen and different people who belong to the different professions, they joined together and voted to the all German National Assembly. But that assembly, it was dominated by the middle class men rather than when compared to the peasants, workers and different artisans. Since the middle class men were more in number, the demands of the workers and artisans went unheard completely. No one cared for the demands of workers and artisans, as the National Assembly, it was dominated completely by the middle class members. So the demands of workers and artisans, they went unheard completely. Their demands were completely resisted or neglected by the middle class members who were in majority in the National Assembly. Along with all these, National Assembly had majority of these middle class men. It lost its popularity as the demands of workers and artisans left unheard completely, and the middle class members who are the part of the National Assembly, they even did not care for the women's suffrage movements. See, in entire Europe, if you observe, right from France to the different countries in entire Europe, women were the passive citizens. No nation it gave the political rights, especially the voting rights to women, equal to that of men. Women were always the passive citizens, and they were considered as the secondary citizens by most of the European nations. Similar thing it happened in Germany also. Most of the women, they wanted an equal voting rights along with the men, and in the demand of these voting rights, they started to form different associations, organizations, wrote different influential pamphlets, newspapers, in order to fetch their voting rights. But none of them they worked, and these women were also the passive citizens, even in the Church of Saint Paul. There, women were allowed to be the uh, to play the role of only the audience by being present in the gallery. They were allowed to observe the happenings in the Saint Paul church, but they were not the part and parcel of the all German National Assembly. So women protested for equal rights throughout the Germany, and they formed different associations in order to achieve the equal rights of votings. What happened? None of their demands were heard completely, and here and there the revolution it began to rise and rise. But the other class of the people called conservatives, see, along with the liberals, along with the radicals, there were even one more group, that is the conservatives. See, conservatives are nothing but those people who never wished to have a sudden change in the entire nation. They were against the happenings which were about to bring down the monarchism in their entire nation. Conservatives are those set of people who respect their rulers, who respect their kings on a large scale. So these conservatives, to some extent, they became successful at bringing down the revolutions of different categories of people after 1848. But they realized that different demands whichever were there of different groups of people were supposed to be addressed in order to save their own heritage of past, in order to save their own monarch rule, and also in order to resist against the drastic changes which are about to happen in a nation. So the conservatives, they started to grant the different kinds of demands which were raised by the different categories of people. So among them, initially what they did, they provided different concessions which were the different categories of people were have asked. Concessions are nothing but most of the changes which took place in different parts of the Europe were installed in Germany after 1848. The first one what they did was serfdom or bonded labor was abolished completely in Germany. That is nothing but, see, serfdom is nothing but a bonded labor. A person is subjected to be the bonded labor, especially as a peasant. See, the person who works as a bonded labor in different agricultural lands, they are called as serfs. And the procedure of being a bonded labor in somebody's land, that is called as a serfdom. So this serfdom system was predominantly existing during the period of medieval period in entire European continent. This serfdom system was abolished completely after 1848, and a greater autonomy was given to the Hungarians in Habsburg Empire. Habsburg Empire, as I told you, it is one of the predominant empire in entire European continent, especially in Germany. So this Habsburg Empire, it gave more autonomy to the Hungarians, who were one of the categories of people who are residing in the Habsburg Empire. So different concessions were granted by these people in order to suppress the revolution of liberals, which was intensified after the year of 1848. So the revolution of liberals, it indicates the election of 831 elected representatives who were convened in the St. Paul Church in the city of Frankfurt, and also how the popularity of this all German National Assembly, it was deteriorated because the demands of workers as well as artisans went unheard, and women, that they were not much satisfied as they did not get a equal voting rights, and how the different things which took place during the period of 1848 led to the gradual changes, or led to the great changes in entire Germany, like the abolition of serfdom and the autonomy of Hungarians in entire Habsburg Empire. This is about the topic called the revolution of liberals. Now we shall study about the unification of Germany in the coming years. See, so far we have seen about the different changes which came after the year of 1848 because of a revolution of liberals. Now we shall focus upon a topic called the making of Germany. See, as I have told you that initially whatever nations we have at present, those did not exist as an independent nations under common identities. They were scattered with different languages, different kinds of peoples here and there. But after 1848, these nations, which were not independent until then, they started to unify under a common flag, common language, and common identity. How the story of making of Germany it prevailed after the year of 1848, let us have a look. See, until 1848, different measures were taken by different people in order to achieve a title of nation state for Germany. We have seen that liberals they formed a national assembly in 1848 and they have elected 831 elected representatives in order to achieve their objective of nation making. But it failed because of different reasons as I have explained. But the middle class men who tried to achieve this nation making in Germany, this initiative it was suppressed by the groups of monarchy as well as military. See, as we have seen that whoever elected representatives were there in German National Assembly, those were strongly opposed by the group of people who were in support of monarchy, isn't it? Even a king of Prussia, Friedrich Wilhelm IV, he opposed to take a crown from those elected representatives and he joined to the groups of monarchy because he strongly opposed that representative system which emerged during the period of 1848. So whatever initiative it was initiated by these middle class men, that was totally suppressed by the forces of monarchy and military who were supported by large landlords of Prussia. Why the story of Prussia has come here? It is nothing but, see, the king of Prussia is the one who opposed the crown which was given by the elected representatives. So the large landlords of Prussia, they supported the suppression of the initiative which was launched by the middle class men in Germany in order to unify the different regions of German Confederation. Whatever measures the different these people they made to unify the different areas of Germany, that initiative was suppressed by the monarchy and military who were in turn supported by these large landlords of Prussia. These large landowners, they were called as Junkers during that period. Large landowners of Prussia, they were called as Junkers. It may be asked, what do you mean by Junkers? You will answer that large landowners of Prussia, they were called as Junkers. So these members, both the military and monarchy and who were supported by these Junkers, all these together, they suppressed the idea of making Germany into an independent nation, and the people of Prussia, they themselves took the initiative of making this Germany into a single nation. Among them, there's Ottoman Bismarck, a person called Ottoman Bismarck. He played a most important role. There's Ottoman Bismarck, he was the chief minister of Prussia. Ottoman Bismarck, this person was the chief minister of Prussia and he took the initiative of uniting the different regions of Germany. Hence, Ottoman Bismarck, he was called as the architect of unification process of Germany. This fellow, he tried a lot to bring a nation state title to entire Germany and to convert the German Federation into a single independent nation state. Whatever initiative this middle class man made to unify Germany, that slipped into the hands of Ottoman Bismarck, who was the chief minister of Prussia. So Junkers are nothing but the landowners of Prussia. Ottoman Bismarck is none other than the chief minister of Prussia, who is called as the architect of unification of different regions of Germany. Once the responsibility of unification of Germany went into the hands of Ottoman Bismarck, who was the chief minister of Prussia, 3 different wars were waged over a period of 7 years with 3 different nations, namely Austria, France and Denmark. These 3 nations stood opposite to the forces of Prussia and who were under the leadership of Ottoman Bismarck, but Prussia was successful at defeating all these 3 different nations who were in alliance, and victory was on the side of Prussia. All the three wars, whichever were waged over the period of 7 years, ended in the Prussians' victory. These three nations you can remember as AFD. You know ABD, right? Mr. 360. Instead of his name in ABD, you can take F. AFD. So Austria, France, and Denmark. Just to remember these three nations who stood on an opposite direction with this Prussian nation. I am giving you a mnemonic of AFD. So Austria, France, and Denmark. These three nations were in a single alliance and they tried to defeat Prussia, but all these three wars ended in the Prussians' victory and thus completed the process of unification of entire Germany. These three wars, which ended on the Prussia's victory, completed the process of unification of Germany into a single nation. And in January 1817, on this day, Prussian king Kaiser William I, the first Kaiser William, he was proclaimed as the king of entire Germany, which was subjected to a unification. For such nation, this Kaiser William, who was a king of Prussia, he was proclaimed as a king of a new nation which was formed in a ceremony which was held at Versailles. To announce king of Germany, there was a grand ceremony which was held in Versailles by inviting military groups, by inviting a middle class men and all different people of entire Germany, including the Otto Bismarck, was invited. And in that ceremony which was held at Versailles, Kaiser William I was announced as a king of Germany. So Kaiser William I is a new emperor of Germany, whereas Otto Bismarck was an architect of unification process of entire Germany. The new king and the nation which is just unified after the period of 1848, that is in 1871, this Germany, it was subjected to the different measures and policies of Prussia, and entire Germany, there in that nation, the power of Prussia, it was very much more when compared to the Germans. The dominant power of Prussia was more when compared to the Germany, and different policies of Prussia were implemented successfully in entire Germany. Whatever a new government it was formed under the leadership of Kaiser William, they emphasized upon the modernizing the currency. They emphasized to change the banking and judiciary system which was existing in entire Germany before the before this person Kaiser William I became a king of entire Germany. In the process of making of Germany, the Prussians played a major role, and Germany went completely into the hands of a Prussian king Kaiser William after its unification process. Now let's have a look at the unification process of Italy. Next to Germany, Italy was on the path of unification, and Italy was on the path of becoming into an independent nation in entire Europe. So during the mid-19th century, Italy was divided into 7 different states. There was no single nation as of we see now. This Italy have a long history of political fragmentation, and as a part of that, this Italy, it was divided into 7 different fragments. Among all these 7 different fragments, only one region, that is Sardinia Piedmont, was ruled by the Italian princely house. During the period of 1830s, different efforts were made by the group called revolutionaries to unify Italy into a single nation. We have studied about the revolutionaries, especially about the Giuseppe Mazzini, in the very beginning of the chapter. This Giuseppe Mazzini, who was a revolutionary in entire European continent, and he established even an organization called Young Italy to unify entire Italy and bring it under a single identity. The idea of nationalism, it was emphasized by this revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini by establishing a secret group called Young Italy during the period of 1830s. But his measure of unifying Italy, it failed during the period of 1831 as well as 1848. because we have seen that 1848 it was a period of hunger and hardship to the entire Europeans. The attempts of the such revolutionaries it failed during 1848, and since the attempts of revolutionaries failed to unify Italy, that responsibility it went into the hands of this Sardinia Piedmont, as this was the only region which was ruled by the Italian princely house. The responsibility to unify entire Italy under one nation, it went into the hands of the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont, that is none other than the Victor Emmanuel. This Victor Emmanuel, who was the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont, took the responsibility of unification of entire Italy. And all those subjects who were the part of Sardinia Piedmont, different subjects of this Victor Emmanuel, they believed that the unification of Italy can make them to prosper economically, can make them to have a better lives when compared to being independent territory or being independent region. Most of them they believed and emphasized upon the unification of Italy under the leadership of Victor Emmanuel, who was the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont. Once the responsibility of unification of Italy came into the hands of Victor Emmanuel II, Chief Minister Cavour led the movement of unification. This Chief Minister Cavour, he was a person who belonged to this Victor Emmanuel II, and he led the movement of unification. Just like Ottoman Bismarck, how he led the process of unification of Germany under the leadership of William Kaiser, this Cavour also led the process of unification under the leadership of Victor Emmanuel II. This person, Cavour, he played a key role in the unification of entire Italy, and with the tactful alliance of with France, Sardinia Piedmont, it succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces in the year of 1859. So in the year of 1859, what happened? The people of Sardinia Piedmont, they could defeat the Austrian forces with the help of France. They had this Cavour, he was a well-educated person, and he could arrange a diplomatic alliance with the France, and with that alliance, Sardinia Piedmont, it was successful at defeating the Austrian forces in the year of 1859. In other regions of Italy, a person called Giuseppe Garibaldi and the kingdom of two Sicilies, both they joined their hands to unify Italy in a very short period of time. See, on one side, Chief Minister Cavour played a important key role in defeating Austrian forces with the help of France. On the other side, especially in the South Italy, this man Giuseppe Garibaldi and the kingdom of two Sicilies, they were successful at gaining the popularity from the local peasants as well as the local people, and they together they drove out the Spanish rulers who were there in South Italy. Giuseppe Garibaldi and two Sicilies also helped, or also they lended their helping hands in order to drive out these Spanish rulers who were there in South Italy. Together, the Chief Minister Cavour, Giuseppe Garibaldi and the two Sicilies, they made the unification of Italy successfully, and in the year of 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed as the King of United Italy. Ultimately, in the year of 1861, a united Italy came into an existence, and the unification of Italy was completed by the King of Sardinia Piedmont, that is Victor Emmanuel II. The process of unification of Italy, which began in 1830s by the revolutionaries, though it failed, in 1861 their dream of unifying Italy came true under the leadership of this Victor Emmanuel II, with the help of Chief Minister Cavour and Giuseppe Garibaldi as well as the Kingdom of two Sicilies. Hope you understood about the unification of Germany as well as Italy. Now let us study about the unification of Britain next to the Germany and Italy. Unlike the unification process of both Germany and Italy, the unification process of Britain is a strange case when compared to both Germany and Italy, because the unification of Britain did not come just with a rise of revolution or with a sudden uprising against the government. But the unification process of this Britain was a long process. The history of unification process of Britain is quite long when compared to the Germany and Italy. And this Britain was made up of different people of different ethnic groups. That is nothing but the people who were residing in entire Britain. They were made up of different cultures, different languages, and their way of expressing their thoughts, their culture, everything, it was completely different. Diversity was more in Britain when compared to Germany and Italy. Large number of people, they had their own past, they had their own culture, their own history and languages. They were highly diversified when compared to Germany and Italy. But the power of monarchy, which took place in the year of 1688, it enabled the Britishers to dream about the unification on a large scale. This event, which took place in 1688, that is the abdication of monarchy in Britain, that gave new hopes to those people who were dreaming about the unification of Britain. This instance of abdication of monarchy helped the people to drive themselves towards the unification of Britain. And this Act of Union of 1707, which took place between England and Scotland, resulted in the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain. This Act of Union, this also helped towards the formation of United Britain. One incident which helped the Britons towards the unification is the seizing of power of monarchy in 1688 and the Act of Union, which took place between England and Scotland. This Act of Union paved the way towards the United Kingdom of Great Britain. This act also meant the oppression of Scotland people. This act meant the oppression of distinctive culture of Scotland men, and the political institutions were completely suppressed by the Britain people. This act not only helped to form the United Kingdom of Great Britain, but this also led to the suppression of Scotland men by the Britishers on a large scale. Scotland faced a severe oppression because of this Act of Union, which took place in 1707. Not only Scotland, but Ireland also suffered a similar fate. Ireland consists of two different sects of Christianity, that is the Protestants and Catholics. Englishmen, they helped the Protestants to achieve their dominance over the Catholics of entire Ireland nation. This was not liked by the Irelandmen, especially by the Catholics. There were several revolts against the British Empire for supporting the Protestants and making the Catholics as a secondary citizens. Most of the Catholics, they came with severe revolts against the Britishmen, but all those revolts were completely suppressed by these British. In 1798, after the period of this 1798, Ireland was completely taken over by the Britishers by dividing the Protestants and Catholics, by completely supporting the Protestants and also suppressing the Catholics. Ireland was taken over by the Britain after 1798, and in the year of 1801, it was incorporated into a United Kingdom. Ireland was completely incorporated into a United Kingdom by dividing the two major sects of Christianity, that is the Protestants and Catholics. In 1801, United Kingdom achieved the complete superiority over Ireland by incorporating it into the United Kingdom of Great Britain. And next to that, different national symbols were formed in entire Britain, like the British flag, which was called as Union Jack, and the national anthem, and also the English language, which were considered as the national symbols, were actively promoted through in the entire United Britain. So in the process of unification of Britain, Scotland and Ireland, they suffered completely. Both the nations, they were completely suppressed by the dominance of these Englishmen, and different national symbols were brought into existence after the process of unification of Britain came to an end. This is about the unification of Germany, Italy and Britain. Now we shall have a look about the last topic of this chapter, that is visualizing the nation. How an abstract idea of nation was visualized by different categories of people, that we shall study now. If we complete the visualizing the nation topic, our chapter, the long chapter of your history, rise of nationalism in Europe will come to an end. Let's have a look at the last topic of this chapter, visualizing the nation. See, representing a king in the form of statue is very easier than representing a nation. Most of the people, they thought of different methods to represent an entire nation, because the unification procedure of most of the countries were completed. So most of the artists and intellectuals were behind the thought of visualizing an entire nation. How to represent a nation? This was a major question mark for most of the people, and they came up with a very good solution of representing a nation in the form of statues, or in the form of female figures especially. Most of the artists, they represented the country as if it were a person, as if a nation was a person. They tried to portray the entire nation. Usually females were used to represent one particular nation. Those females may not be an individual or may not be a person with particular identity, but statues were made and visualized these nations as a person. Usually females were chosen to represent the different nations. And this idea, it came, maybe the idea of representing a nation, maybe it was acquired from France, because you know that in French Revolution, while we studied the French Revolution in your previous classes, we came to know that different symbols were used by the French people to represent the different feelings. Like red cap was used to represent a liberty, broken chain was used to represent liberty, and a woman with blindfolded along with weighing scales was a symbol of justice. So since France, it gave different symbols to represent the different ideas, most of the people, they too wanted a symbol for each and every nation. So with the inspiration of France, female allegories were invented by artists to represent a nation. So allegories are nothing but when you are representing a particular abstract idea in any form, then that is called as an allegory. So such allegories were made in most of the Europe to represent each and every nation. If you see the German nation, you will get a female picture with the oak leaves upon her head, because Germans felt that oaks were very powerful. So they represented a female figure along with the oak leaves upon her head. Such allegories became very much common in entire Europe, and most of the artists and intellectuals, they started to visualize a nation as if it was a person. This is about your chapter, the rise of nationalism in Europe, and how the idea of nationalism, it was incorporated in most of the Europeans with the inspiration of French Revolution, and how the idea of nationalism, it was achieved in Germany, Italy and Britain by their own unifications. This is about the complete chapter. Hope you understood the chapter in detail, and all the videos from the very beginning to the last are available in my YouTube channel. Please go through them, and if you have any doubts, you can comment them in my comment box of my YouTube channel. AGS, only destination for learning. Please like the videos, share them and subscribe my channel. Please don't forget to press the bell icon to get the recent notifications. Thank you one and all.